Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and today I'm making some more resin art. So I make this with a two-part casting resin, and then I use flower petals and leaves and occasionally other materials like rocks to make pretty colors and designs inside of them. And today I have got a new mold that has a bunch of more tiny little tiny little shapes with little holes in them to make more earrings. I really like the tiny ones because sometimes I really like small earrings because they don't weigh so much and drag on your ears. And I also like these new and interesting shapes that some are crystalline and kind of make the petals show in a different way. But I'm also using some of my older molds that have shapes like wings and moons and cat heads. And also another new thing I'm using today are these metal molds that are backless, so you have to put something behind them that won't stick to resin. And I actually had quite a bit of difficulty with these because I've never used them before. I'm sure there's an easier way to do it than how I did it, but I just put it up against some a little mat that is designed to put resin on and have it not stick. But for some reason the resin leaked out from under the little metal molds and made a huge mess, and also made it so that I couldn't fill them all the way on the first go. So I eventually decided to solve this problem by just letting it dry that way and then filling them in on the second go. But it was very difficult and surprising when it first happened because I had no idea that that was something I needed to watch for. So I ended up wasting a fair amount of resin that just leaked right out. Fortunately, once it was dry, it was fairly easy to break away from the resin that was already where it was supposed to be inside the mold, and also came off the metal quite slickly, probably because the metal had a very shiny texture that didn't have a lot of friction that would like stick to the resin, much like this mat that I'm working on. But some of them peeled off somewhat easily, and then some of them I had to go at it with some pliers and put quite a lot of labor into it. So next time I'm hoping that if I put less resin in to start with, that it won't leak out so much and make such a mess. And maybe it's like the weight of the resin. Once it gets to a certain amount, it's bound to buoy up the metal so that it doesn't meet the backing anymore and leak. So I will see if that works better next time. I put less in to start in the butterfly, and it didn't leak nearly as much, so I think that might be part of the problem. But I really enjoyed how resin inside these metal shapes looks in the past, so I thought it would be fun to do myself. I also found a new source of flower petals because it is now winter. I have very few flower petals to harvest except from indoor plants and cut flowers that we have. And the ones that you can get from the store that are specifically for jewelry making are very expensive for a small amount. Whereas I discovered by going to the soap making section accidentally, I was just wandering around the craft store, I found that there were dried flower petals for soap making that were sold in much larger quantities for the same price, because you need a lot more of them to make soap. And so that's where I got these dried bachelor's buttons or cornflowers, because I had run out of blue. I had harvested a bunch of cornflowers last spring, but I had used them up because I really love the color blue. And so these aren't quite as pretty as the pressed flat cornflower petals that I harvested because I pressed them, whereas these were just dried, but it gave me back a color that I was very much limited in, so I'm very happy to have that, and to have found a way to get more supplies for not such an expensive price when there aren't readily available fresh flowers. And then another nice thing about this new mold that I got is that instead of having just one of each shape, it has two of each shape, so it's originally intended for earring making, and it's a lot easier to make things match, and also I can get my results faster because I don't have to wait to do 2 entire sessions of resin making, which take at least 24 hours to dry each. So this speeds that up quite nicely, and I got to do a whole bunch of designs with just the one mold, and so that's why I did 2 sessions with this mold, because I had a few others that I needed to do 2 sessions with the other molds, and so I was just able to make twice as many sets of earrings via that mold. And also you saw me making this beach themed mold with some shells and a starfish and sand, and that was sand in that bottle that I had gathered from a beach that I love to go to, Cannon Beach. So it was fun to have a piece of that place in a little pendant. And then the starfish and the shells are store-bought, so I don't know if they're real or not, but from the texture and the fragility of the starfish, I think it is. And the same thing from the texture of the shells, but either way they make a very cute design. And so those are my new earring and pendant designs. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!